You're putting in the hours, trying to get your English just right, but life gets busy, right?
It really does. Finding that extra study time can be tough.
Well, what if I told you? You might be able to keep learning even while you're fast asleep. Sounds a bit wild, I know.
It does sound, well, almost like a dream, doesn't it? But it actually opens up this really interesting area about what our brains are doing when we're, switched off.
Exactly, and that's what we're diving into today. This whole idea of learning English in your sleep.
We want to unpack the science, see if there's anything to it, and importantly, figure out if you can actually use it to maybe boost your English skills.
And our main source for this deep dive is a YouTube video people might have seen. It's from My English Podcast.
Yeah, the title is pretty direct. Learn English while sleeping, improve English while sleeping English conversation beginners.
Okay, let's just get it out there. Learning while you sleep. I mean, it sounds like science fiction or maybe just wishful thinking. Is there really anything to this?
Well, look, you're not going to go to bed speaking basic English and wake up fluent. Let's be clear about that.
Right, okay. No magic wand.
No magic wand. But the idea isn't completely pulled out of thin air. There's actually a growing amount of research showing that our brains stay pretty active during sleep. They're still processing stuff.
Processing stuff. Like what kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Especially for language learning.
Well, when we sleep, our brain cycles through different stages, deep sleep, REM sleep. And during these stages, a really important process happens called memory consolidation.
Memory consolidation?
Yeah.
Okay, what's that?
Think of it like your brain's nightly filing system. It takes the memories and information you gather during the day and sort of organizes them, strengthens the important connections. It makes learning more solid over time.
Ah, okay. So if I spend, say, an hour learning new English words during the day.
Then while you're sleeping, your brain might actually be working on cementing those words, making those connections stronger. It's continuing the job, just unconsciously.
Huh. Does it actually listen, though? Like if I play audio?
That's the really interesting part. Studies show the sleeping brain does react to sounds, including words and phrases. So yeah, if you're hearing English while you sleep, your brain could be sort of reinforcing things you've already encountered.
Wow. Okay, is there any, hard proof this actually helps you learn better?
There's some compelling evidence. There was a study, I think by Swiss researchers, that's often cited.
Oh yeah. What did they find?
They had two groups learning words from a foreign language. One group just studied normally, the other group studied and then they listened to those same words again while they were asleep. And the next day, the group that listened during sleep, they were noticeably better at remembering those specific words.
Whoa, okay. So hearing it again during sleep actually boosted their recall.
It seems so. It suggests sleep plays a role in, locking in that new information.
But it sounds like you're saying this is more like a helper, not the main way to learn.
Absolutely, 100%. It's a supplement. You cannot replace active learning. You still absolutely need to practice speaking. You need to write. You need to listen actively when you're awake.
Right.
Sleep learning, if it works, is more about reinforcing what you've already put in effort to learn during the day. Think of it as giving it an extra nudge.
Okay, that makes sense. So for someone listening now thinking, all right, I'll give this a shot. What's the first practical step? How do you actually do this effectively?
Right. The first big thing, maybe the most important thing, is choosing the right audio content.
Okay. Not just anything then.
Definitely not. You can't just put on a random English radio station or a movie. You need audio that's specifically suited for this.
Suited how? What makes it suitable?
It needs to be clear. The speech should be relatively slow, or at least not super fast. And repetition is really helpful. You want to make it easy for your sleeping brain to sort of catch on.
Clear, slow, repetitive. Got it.
Yeah.
Can you give some concrete examples? What should people look for?
Sure. Things like basic English conversations, the kind designed for learners, those often have clear speakers and repeat structures.
Okay.
Dialogues between native speakers can work if they're speaking clearly and not too fast. Also, audio focusing on common phrases or vocabulary lists, the repetition is often built right in there.
What about podcasts or audiobooks?
Yeah, those can be good options, especially ones made for language learners because they usually prioritize clear pronunciation and a slower pace. Even things like positive affirmations in English, like my English is improving, might help with confidence, although that's maybe a bit different.
So definitely not trying to absorb a complex political debate or a super fast comedy show while sleeping.
Chuckles. Probably not the best idea, no.
Okay.
It's likely just noise then. Too complicated, too fast, your brain probably just tunes it out. Or worse, it could disrupt your sleep. Keep it simple and structured.
Right, simplicity is key. Okay, so you've picked out some nice, slow, clear audio. What's next? How do you set up your sleep environment?
Good question. The setup matters. First off, volume. Keep it low, really low.
How low?
Just audible, basically. Soft, relaxing. It absolutely shouldn't be loud enough to jolt you awake or even just distract you from falling asleep.
Okay, low volume, check.
Second, think about using a sleep timer. You really don't need this playing all night long.
Oh, good point. So how long should it play?
Maybe an hour, maybe 2 as you're drifting off. That seems to be the general recommendation. It avoids potentially messing with your deeper sleep cycles later in the night.
Smart. Timer for an hour or 2. And what about the device? Headphones? Speaker?
Whatever works best for you and it's comfortable. Some people like small, soft sleep headphones. Others prefer a small speaker near the bed, again, on low volume. Comfort is key so it doesn't disturb you.
Low volume sleep timer. Comfy listening method. Makes total sense. Okay, so you're doing all this. How do you actually know if it's helping? Is it just hope, or can you check?
Yeah, you definitely want to check. It shouldn't just be passive hope. The best way is to do a little self-testing the next day.
Like what? Give yourself a quiz.
Chuckles. Not necessarily a formal quiz, but more like actively trying to recall. See if you can remember any specific words or phrases you might have heard. Maybe jot down anything that comes to mind.
Okay, a quick brain dump in the morning.
Exactly. And then, more importantly, try to use them. If you think you heard a particular phrase, make an effort to use it in a sentence when you're practicing your speaking or writing that day.
Ah, so you're connecting the nighttime listening to the daytime practice.
Precisely. That's where the real potential benefit lies, bridging that gap. Reinforcing at night, activating during the day, that's how you integrate it.
Okay, that seems like a solid approach. So we know the how. Let's maybe circle back a bit to the what. We talked about clear, slow, repetitive audio. Can we dive a bit deeper into why certain types work better?
Sure. Let's unpack those content types again. English conversations, the simple ones. They're good because they give you the rhythm, the intonation, the natural flow of spoken English.
Right, sentence structure and stuff.
Exactly. And hearing phrases repeated in that context helps them become more automatic, you know? Same idea with lists of common phrases and vocabulary. Direct repetition strengthens the memory trace for those essential bits of language.
And the slow audiobooks or stories.
Yeah, simple stories with clear narration are great for passive listening practice. You're getting exposure without needing intense focus. And then you have those audios specifically designed for sleep learning. They often build in that gentle repetition quite deliberately.
What about those affirmations you mentioned, like, I am confident?
It's a bit different, less about pure vocabulary acquisition, maybe more about mindset. Building that positive association with English, reducing anxiety. It's a subtle thing, but could be helpful for some.
Interesting. What about background noise? Like, some people use white noise or nature sounds to sleep. Does that interfere, or could it help?
That's a good question. For some people, yeah, soft background sounds, music, white noise, nature sounds can actually help relaxation and sleep quality.
So it might make the sleep learning more effective.
Potentially, yeah. If you're sleeping better, your brain might be more receptive. You can even find tracks that deliberately mix, say, English phrases with calming sounds like rain or ocean waves.
Okay. And what about just regular English podcasts? Like maybe one I listen to during the day. Can I just play that at night?
It depends. If it's a podcast with, super clear speakers, maybe telling a simple story or explaining something slowly, then perhaps. But most general podcasts involve fast conversations, slang, complex topics, multiple speakers. That's probably just going to be noise to your sleeping brain. Stick to things aimed at learners or with very clear, slow delivery if you go the podcast route.
So, bottom line on content. Clarity, slow pace, repetition are king. And maybe something you've already heard or learned is even better.
Exactly. Simple conversations, vocab audios, learner audiobooks, maybe affirmations, perhaps with some calming background sound. That seems to be the sweet spot.
Okay, fantastic. We've got the science, the setup, the content. Let's talk best practices. How do you really squeeze the most out of this technique, assuming it works for you?
Right. There are definitely ways to maximize your chances. The first big one, and we touched on this, is listening to familiar content.
Familiar, as in stuff I already learned.
Yes, exactly. Your brain is generally better at reinforcing stuff it already has some hook into, rather than trying to grasp something completely brand new while you're asleep.
So don't try to learn, like, advanced grammar rules from scratch overnight.
Probably not the best use of it, no. A better approach is Study some words or phrases during the day. Actively learn them. Then listen to audio of those same words and phrases as you fall asleep. It's like a review session for your subconscious.
Re-exposure. Helps move it to long-term memory, maybe.
That's the idea, yeah. Reinforcement. Okay, second practice. Keep that audio clear and slow. We keep saying it, but it's crucial.
Avoid the fast talkers.
Avoid the fast talkers, avoid complex arguments. Look for recordings with clear pronunciation, a measured pace, and again, repetition within the audio itself is a big plus.
Clear, slow, repetitive. Got it. What's number 3?
Use that sleep timer. We mentioned it for setup, but it's the best practice too.
Right, don't let it run all night.
Yeah, aim for maybe an hour, maybe 90 minutes, 2 hours tops. You want the benefit as you drift off, but you don't want it potentially interfering with your deep sleep later on. Protect your sleep quality.
Good advice. Sleep is important on its own. Okay, practice 4.
This might be the most critical one. Combine sleep learning with active practice.
The daytime stuff.
The daytime stuff. Sleep learning works best, if it works at all, as a partner to your waking efforts. Speaking, writing, active listening, doing exercises, you have to do that.
So, listening at night alone won't do much.
Very unlikely to lead to significant improvement on its own. You need to connect it. Try to recall the sleep audio in the morning, try to use the words, make it a conscious cycle.
Passive reinforcement at night, active use during the day. Makes sense. Anything else?
Yes. Final practice, be consistent. This isn't a magic bullet, like we said. You probably won't notice a huge difference after one night.
Right, it takes time.
It takes time and regularity. Try to make it part of your routine for at least a few weeks. See if you gradually start to feel like certain words are more familiar or pronunciation feels a tiny bit easier. Consistency is key.
Okay, let's recap those best practices quickly. 1, listen to familiar stuff you learned during the day. 2, keep the audio clear, slow, repetitive. 3, use a sleep timer, maybe 1-2 hours. 4, combine it heavily with active daytime practice. And 5, be consistent over weeks.
That's a perfect summary. Follow those, and you give sleep learning the best possible chance to actually help your English.
Now, this all sounds good, the theory, the practices.
Yeah.
But does it actually work for real people? Do we have any, success stories?
Yeah.
Examples?
Yeah, there are anecdotal reports, stories people share. For instance, I read about a student, let's call her Emma, from Spain. She wanted to work on her pronunciation.
Oh, okay. What did she do?
She started listening to simple English conversations every night with a timer, just basic dialogues.
Did it help?
She reported that after about 2 months of doing this consistently, she felt her understanding of spoken phrases improved, and she found it easier to actually repeat them accurately herself.
Huh. 2 months. So consistent effort paid off gradually for her pronunciation. Interesting. Anyone else?
There was another story about someone we can call David from Japan. Busy job, not much time to study vocabulary actively.
Relatable for many, I bet.
Definitely. So he started listening to recordings of English word lists, but importantly, they included example sentences. He listened to these while sleeping.
Vocabulary lists with context. And for him.
He apparently found that those words just started to feel more familiar when he encountered them later. He felt he could recall them a bit more easily when he needed them in a conversation.
So again, not like he woke up knowing thousands of new words, but it made the ones he was exposed to feel less alien, easier to grab onto.
Exactly. It lowered the barrier, perhaps. These stories, while anecdotal, suggest that when used correctly, consistently, with the right content, and crucially, alongside active study, it can provide a noticeable boost for some learners.
That's actually quite encouraging. It shows it's not just theory, it can have practical benefits, even if subtle and gradual.
Right. It positions it as a potentially useful tool in the overall language learning toolkit.
Okay, this has been a fascinating dive. We've gone from, is this even real, to here's exactly how you might try it. Let's try and boil this all down. What are the absolute key takeaways for someone listening?
Okay, the essentials. 1. Sleep learning works best, if at all, when you combine it with active, awake English practice. It's a supplement, not a replacement.
Got it. Number 1, combine with active study.
2. Choose your audio carefully. Think clear, slow pace, and repetitive English content. Simple conversations, vocab lists, learner materials.
Number 2, use clear, slow, repetitive audio.
3. Use a sleep timer. An hour or 2 is probably enough. Don't disrupt your whole night's sleep.
Number 3, sleep timer.
4. Make that connection. Try to recall or review the material the next morning. Actively use it.
Number 4, review and use the next day.
And 5. Be consistent. Stick with it for a while to see if it makes a difference for you. It takes time.
Number 5, consistency. Perfect. So, yeah, it won't make you fluent overnight, definitely not. But it could be a helpful little extra boost.
That seems to be the most realistic way to look at it, yes. A supporting tool.
So maybe the call to action here is give it a mindful try if you're curious.
Exactly. Why not experiment? Pick some simple audio tonight. Set that timer for, say, 90 minutes and just see how it feels. Make it a habit for a few weeks if you can.
A worthwhile experiment indeed. And hey, if you found this deep dive helpful, maybe learned something new about sleep learning, do us a favor.
Yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. Maybe share it with a friend who's also learning English.
We really appreciate that. And our challenge, like you said, is try it out. Start tonight, maybe. See if this method feels like it adds anything for you over time.
And definitely subscribe so you catch our next deep dive. And hey, leave us a review. We'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts on this, or if you've tried sleep learning yourself.
Oh yeah, and check the show notes. We'll put links to maybe some examples of the kinds of sleep-friendly audio. We talked about learner podcasts, simple audiobooks, that sort of thing.
Great idea. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Remember, consistency is your friend in language learning, whether you're awake or, well, trying to learn while you're asleep.
Every little bit helps, right? Keep practicing, keep learning, keep growing. Until next time on our deep dive.